Hey everyone, welcome back to the Age Interrupted podcast. I'm your host, Jill White, functional pharmacist and certified personal trainer. I help women defy aging by learning to put on muscle by lifting weights and following a healthful, balanced nutrition plan for life. And today is We Talk Wednesday, which means I have a special guest, someone from our community here to share a glimpse into her life. I couldn't wait for today's podcast because we're going to discuss what it's like joining the Age Interrupted program, what it entails, how it feels, what it's like from the beginning. Today, my guest is a current client and even better, my longtime friend, Cherin Hall. Welcome to the podcast, Cherin.
Thank you. So fun to be here.
Yay, yeah, I'm so excited to have you. So we know each other very well, of course, but if you don't mind, tell our community a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So like you said, I'm Cherin. I live in Houston and I'm 51, which is hard to admit on camera, but I'm 51. And I've spent an entire lifetime basically trying to get my figure back and my kind of control over my life for probably the better part of, let's see, how old is my oldest child? 23. So about 23 years I've
Mm,
been struggling. And I always have some excuse to not take care of myself. And I think as women, we tend to prioritize everything and everybody before ourselves. And that's okay, right? I mean, we have to give ourselves a little grace there. But at some point, you have to kind of say, all right, it's time to prioritize me. And both of my kids are grown now and out of the house. And I was recently downsized from my long-term job a few months ago. So I've had like 3 months to really self-reflect, think about where I want to go with the next chapter of my life. And I was getting ready to begin my new job. And I thought, now it's really time to think about doing it right. No more
mm,
excuses. And so anyway, that's kind of a little bit about me. Just I'm a typical woman who is postmenopausal and has all the baggage that goes with that. I work, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, and I'm dealing with all the same stress as everybody else is dealing with. But at some point, you just have to say, no more excuses, right? And so here I am. I had to call you.
Yay, I'm so happy that you did, honestly. And I will
Thank
say
you.
that it was almost a gift, those that getting let go, right?
Definitely.
Where you had that time to
Yep.
self-reflect, and
Yep.
not everyone has that as a gift, but no, that was really, really good for you. And one thing
Best
you,
thing that
you
could have happened.
right? Isn't it crazy
Hmm.
how that works?
Yep.
One
Yep.
other thing you did mention being a daughter, but you've mentioned to me before, your parents are more than just parents. Like you're really taking care of your parents. So even though your children are
Yeah.
grown and out of the house, you do still have additional responsibilities that not everyone, even at 51,
Hmm.
has.
Yeah.
And so
They
you,
call us the sandwich generation, I think, because we're sandwiched between we raise our kids, we get them grown, we get them off to either college or living on their own. And then some of us then all of a sudden have to become parents to our parents. And both of my parents are very elderly. They live on their own still, but they both have Alzheimer's. And so every day I have to provide caregiving for them. And I'm an only child, so I don't have a backup system. It's me. And so it's interesting because I always use my kids as my excuse not to take care of myself.
right.
And then I finally got kind of the kids off and taking care of themselves, doing a great job. And then all of a sudden, I was bombarded with getting two Alzheimer's diagnoses back to back for my parents. And then found myself having to start parenting all over again. And it's really hard because that's a different ball of wax or whatever the expression is, but
Mhm.
it's really challenging. It's actually been the hardest thing I've had to do. But yeah, that was like, okay, well, that gives me another excuse now. I'm
Right.
just, there isn't enough alcohol, cookies, and cake that can help with that. And so finally it's like, well, I have two choices. I can either destroy myself or I have to take care of myself. And so I decided, I guess it would be easier to try to take care of myself because I didn't want to drown in from too much wine.
Wow.
So yeah, but yeah, I think but I know that I've known, because now I'm like on a lot of online support groups for people just like me who've had to take care of parents with Alzheimer's and all the caregiving challenges that goes with that. That one, there's so many more people than I thought there were going through this, but also the importance of prioritizing self-care is so important, so we don't get fatigue or exhaustion and then ruin our own lives while we're trying to help our parents. So, for me, it's easier when I think about, I'll make sacrifices for anybody else that I love. I never make sacrifices for myself. And this is the first time ever in my life that I am saying, to heck with everything else. I am going to focus on me, and I'm not apologizing for it. And so this is happening at a great time. I'm a big believer that, God's timing is perfect and you always have to trust the timing. And so I never go on Facebook ever because I truly don't like it.
I can
But
attest
I
to
went
that.
onto
You
Facebook.
never do. Yeah.
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 Well, it's one of those things, you see everybody else living their great life, their best life, but I don't know if I really believe it, but you see it,
Right.
right? And I went on one day and I just happened to see you, and it happened to be right when you took care of like making your new look.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, that's awesome. I was so charged up when I saw that. I'm
Oh,
like,
thank
this is
you.
amazing. I hadn't talked to you in a while. And then I
Right.
just started going on Facebook, seeing what you were up to. And I don't know, something just clicked. You got me at the right moment. And that's when I reached out and was like, you got to help me. I believe you can help me. And
Yeah.
so here we are.
Here we are.
We're in it.
I'm so
We're
excited
in it.
to dive deeper into that. But first, I do want to say just kudos to you for prioritizing yourself when it would have been an easy excuse, because I know you're doing everything on a daily basis for your parents. And I think that's even harder than for your children. Your children, when they're young, they're in the home. When they're small and they're needed and taken care of, you can easily lift them. You can easily do whatever you need to do. But it's like now you have parents who, if they fall, if you have to help lift them, like what even a better reason to need physical strength, right? So
Exactly.
it takes care of you, but it does help you to take care of them
You're
as
right.
well. So, and then I just wanted to backtrack on the age thing. It's hard to admit. It, I still feel, because we feel the same, right? Even though the
I know.
number keeps creeping up, I feel like I'm still 20 or 30 years ago. I'm like, there's no way. Like my mom should be 46 years old, almost,
Right.
not me. Like that's not, how is that possible? So
I'm
yeah,
telling you, I know. Now I still feel like I'm around like 30 to 34
yeah.
until I look in the mirror, and then I'm like, no, definitely not.
Right. Oh, that's
But
too
yeah,
funny.
I think mentally that I think that's very normal, that we tend to think of ourselves at the age where maybe we liked ourselves the best, or where we felt
Mhm.
really comfortable in our bodies. And I think for me that was like between 30 and 35. And the last like 15, 16 years, I don't exactly know what has happened, but
Mhm.
but I have slayed the dragon. Menopause is officially over for me. So I am ready to begin this next chapter of my life with a new normal. I just haven't quite defined what that is yet, but I'm hoping you're going to help me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think you're definitely
Certainly.
working on it. I think you are. And the fact that
Trying.
you're no holds barred as far as not being apologetic about taking care of yourself for the next chapter, I
Yeah.
think that's going to go very far for you for sure. Like I think all women need to have that mindset at some point. Even it would be nice if when we are raising our children, we could still think that way, even if it was a little bit. And I think some
Mm-hmm.
women do a great job doing that. I know I had hills
Mm-hmm.
and valleys of it. But I think mom guilt is real. And like you said, we so easily will prioritize every single person in the whole wide world besides
Mm-hmm.
ourselves and feel guilty if we're gone to the gym after maybe a long day of work or travel. I know we both traveled a lot for our jobs. And so then when you're home, you want to be home with them. And so it's really hard. But yes, you're in the new chapter. And so I'm excited for you. So, okay.
Thank you.
So we've mentioned you are a new Jill White coaching client. You're interrupting
Mhm.
age as we speak. I know you've already had your
Yes.
second workout earlier this morning, but this is still all
Mhm.
really new to you. And so I really want to just take a step back for people who maybe would like to know what it's like to start a new
Mhm.
program, start working with me even. So I want to talk more about what your experience has been like as a new client. Let's just start with we've really kind of covered like what made now the time to change. And I mean, I guess you've really covered it well as far as you really never get on social media. And it was just the perfect timing. Like literally this has all been in the past few weeks that all of these things have
Mhm.
happened, and just we haven't talked in years. I mean, really, it's been
Mhm.
years. So
Mhm.
even though we are, I mean, but you're like a kindred soul. Like anytime we speak, I always feel like we just talked yesterday and could go on. So is that really that those were all of the kind of the reasons that got you going at this time?
So I last year I tried a program that looked at kind of metabolic health, focusing on women in this age group, and I did pretty well with that, just watching my calories and trying to move more. And I did all right. And then I plateaued at like 20 pounds of weight loss, which was great. I hadn't lost 20 pounds in a long time. And but then I plateaued. I got super unmotivated by that. And then, well, as it always happens, it starts creeping back on, and it seems to creep on a lot faster than it comes off.
Mm,
And so this year I found myself, I gained 15 of the 20 pounds. I gained 15 of it back
mhm.
by the beginning of this year. I was really unmotivated at that point. So of course, what do? You eat more cookies.
Yeah.
And I was laid off. So I started,
Mm,
baking my own bread, which was amazing. Started cooking a lot more because I was home. I thought I was going to be like the next pioneer woman. It was awesome, making beeswax candles. I'm thinking like I'm going to work at the farmer's market. But then the only thing that really kept happening was I just kept putting on more and more weight.
mm,
So then I thought, okay, I need to really understand why it's happening. So, selfishly, not, I guess I wouldn't say selfishly, but I really just wanted to take the easy road out. So I looked into doing what every other woman I know, I swear, I think it's every woman I know,
right.
is taking like the Ozempic shots
Mhm.
or the GLP ones. So I finally was like, I can't beat them. So I might as well just join them. And so I decided that's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna go get those shots and I'm going to lose a lot of weight. I'm gonna be all like puckered up skinny,
Right.
and look all whatever, but I'll look like everybody else and I'll
Mhm.
feel better because I won't be the heavy lady, anymore. And then I talked to my daughter about it, who's a real health nut. And she said, no, no, you're not going to do that because it's not going to fix your problem. And I'm like, well, what's my problem? Tell me. I just need to know what my problem is and then I
Right.
can
I'll
fix
fix
it.
it. Yeah.
She's like, well, you have to figure it out, but taking the shot will help you lose weight for sure. It does work. But until you understand what is causing the weight and causing that bad habits, the shot will mask the problem. It won't fix the problem. So, some people say girls, women, whatever, young women, our children are not wise until they're older. But this was some wise words from my 23-year-old daughter, and I took them to heart. I was like, I really do need to dig deep and figure out this problem. So I actually joined Noom, which I recommend. It's a really neat website. It gets to the psychology of why we eat. I figured out a lot about why I make the choices that I make. It made me more mindful about making healthy eating choices. And it stung for the first couple of weeks as I traded out, homemade bread for, two strawberries or something. And instead of eating homemade cookies, I would, have a rice cake.
Right.
I'm sorry, but there's no substitute for a good cookie,
Right.
but there's a time and place for it, right?
Right.
And I feel like just learning the triggers, learning the why behind the choices was super helpful. Started journaling every single thing I was doing to understand my triggers. And it really isn't surprising. I don't think it'll surprise anybody who is an emotional eater or who eats because they enjoy the taste of food, that we sometimes seek comfort in those things as a way to replace things in our life that are not comfortable.
Right.
So it would be no surprise to think that I would leave my parents' house after a daily check-in. I'm all stressed out. Okay, well, I happen to stop at the tea store, like the boba tea, the really sweet, good, yummy boba tea. I would stop there to treat myself, right? Because I
Right.
was a good daughter and I did all that and I'm stressed out. Hey, treat yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah, if you do that every day, you're going to look like a big giant stuffed boba
You're gonna look
before
like a
too long.
boba,
And
right? Yeah.
yeah, right. And you know, you have to realize that food is not comfort. You know, it's momentary and then it fleets. And then you're
Right.
fleeting and then you spend the rest of your day like in self-loathing. Like
Right. Beating
why
yourself
did I
up.
sabotage myself
Right.
again? So for me, what I recognized even with Noom, where I was even getting a coach who checks in, and it's great. I really I support Noom. I think it's great. I committed to 6 months, so I'm all in. And I'm not even through my first month on Noom. But I felt like it was really good to help me look inward and say, here's what I'm doing, what I'm doing. But what I also recognized is that that was not enough for me. I actually need someone physical to hold me accountable more than just through a text message, like which is what you get with Noom. I need someone who will give me one-on-one coaching. um, I kind of view you as almost like a life coach, not just a fitness coach, a wellness coach, a nutritional coach. It's like you you're kind of all wrapped up into one. And I think because I knew you from our past life
Right.
when you were doing medical science work, and I know how smart you are. I knew how driven you always were when we worked together. And even though we hadn't spoken in a long time, when I got to see your journey and how you've transformed your life, I thought to myself, if Jill can do this, and she's putting her money where her mouth is, and she's saying all this, and I know how smart you are, so I trust your commitment to the science behind what you're doing. I thought, you know, she might be the solution that I'm looking for to help me take what I've already learned and hold myself accountable. And so that's why I was like, now is the time to take it to the next step and see if we can make something happen. If you can do for me what you did for yourself,
Right.
I will be so happy. So
Right.
I was like, let's do this. I'm all in. And um yeah, so for me, I know that what I was doing wasn't enough, and I really did need the personal connection that what you're doing can offer someone like me.
Right.
And that's how it kind of all started, why I was finally ready. Like, this is the time, we got to do it.
Right. No, that's
Yep.
good. Thank you. And thank you for your kind words. And I will say,
Sure.
I will give you the tools, right? And I'll give you the support, but in the end, you are the one doing it. You're the one that has to make the choices of not having the cookie, having the strawberries when it's the time to
I
have the
know.
strawberries and not the cookies, right? But like you said, there is a time for
Yeah.
that. And that is what I work through, is making it a lifestyle and not a diet, because that
Yes.
in the end is why everyone fails when they fail. And we only fail when we quit, right? We don't fail until we give up, and that's the only failure. And
Yeah.
diets don't fail us, or we don't fail our diets fail us, because it's not supposed to be a diet. It is a lifestyle. It's a
That's right.
mindset. It is for the rest of your life, which I talk about a lot. Like,
You
we
do.
can't just eat good. Sometimes we're fueling our body for life, for our health is our life, and we have to keep that in mind. And
Right.
yes, we can enjoy things, but it has to be the exception, not the
Mm-hmm.
rule. The rule has to
Yep.
be what is healthful and health promoting. And I think part of the time, and I'm like you, I'm an emotional eater. I enjoy food. I enjoy going out to eat. I enjoy the company, even if it's just my husband and my daughter. just being in that atmosphere. Like I don't do a lot of things. And so to me, that's
Mhm.
enjoyment. And that's been my biggest struggle has been, and I have finally made it over it. I finally figured it out because anytime I would go out to eat, it was like, oh, well, I'm at a restaurant. I
Mhm.
don't want to order something I could just make at home. I can make chicken and rice at home. Why would I go to a restaurant and have chicken and rice or whatever it is? But I was eating out often enough that if I was celebrating every time I went out to eat, like you can't do that. If you're going to
No,
enjoy going out to a restaurant, you have to make good choices even at a restaurant. That was my biggest thing. That was probably my
for
biggest
sure.
struggle. And then for me too, having celiac, I had my mental hangup. So speaking of mental hangups, because I think it is so important to get to the psychology, you have to understand for
Mhm.
you what it is. And then once you understand it, you can address it. And so my big thing was, I think I had some FOMO. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Oh
so used to
yeah.
being in
Yeah.
places where I couldn't eat anything. There was nothing gluten free that when I would be presented with the option of having gluten free carbohydrate of choice, gluten-free muffin, gluten-free cake,
Right.
gluten-free whatever. I'm like all in because when's the next time I'm going to have this opportunity to have a gluten-free whatever? But I wouldn't just have the one, maybe I would want four because of
Yeah.
the FOMO. So yeah, to your point, I think
Yeah.
understanding the psychology and then being able to address it is really important. Understanding that driving factor of why we're doing what we're doing, because to make it a lifestyle, you have to get
Yep.
to that point where you
Yep.
understand why you're making the choices you're making so you don't end up looking like a boba. And I think one of the podcasts before
I
I
don't want to
talked
look
about
like a
I
boba.
don't want to look like a boba either. I can remember as a young girl looking at my grandparents, my grandma and my great grandma, and how they would be on like literally the cabbage soup or the saltine and cottage cheese diet, whatever, popular diets were around in that time.
Oh
And they
yes.
were, maybe they were not much older than we are now, but in my mind as a child, they were like
They're
80 or,
really old.
70 or 80, right? And I can remember making that mental note as a teenager, like, we're always going to care. No matter how much you try to tell
Uh-huh.
yourself on the valley times, like, oh, I don't care, it doesn't matter, it just is what it is. Like we do care. And so
We do. We
we do.
do.
Yeah, we do.
You're so right. But this program is really interesting so far, and it's definitely different than anything I've ever done, because I've never invested in myself, honestly. I've always thought, "Oh, I can just find it on Pinterest, or I can Google this and get a solution." But this is the first time I've actually invested in coaching support
Mhm.
that would, like, even though we're really far apart mile-wise, and this is the first time I've actually seen your face in years,
Yeah.
um, like, I feel like you're holding my hand
Mhm.
psychologically, and I really needed that, and,
Mhm.
the way that you set this up, um and truth be told, I'm in my 2nd week, right? So
Yeah,
I'm still
yeah,
new, we're in the
yeah.
honeymoon phase here, but, the way you spent a lot of time doing the intake form, and it's very vulnerable, like you have to really like expose those things you don't share with anybody, like your measurements and your weight, and god,
Your
like pictures,
pictures.
oh
Yeah.
god, let's not, and we're not going to talk about those,
So
but but being vulnerable like that
mhm.
is probably the hardest thing we have to do, because we don't even want to admit it to ourselves,
Right.
right? I mean, when once you start to slip, you're not going to stand with a tape measure around your waist and like look at it. You're going to hide the tape measure or throw it away,
Right.
and you're definitely not going to step on the scale. But it's just a measurement, right? And
Right.
the way I convinced myself was that, hey, this is the worst it's going to be, so like let's just get it over with. But
Right.
you really did such an incredibly thorough job, as I would expect from a pharmacist, as I would expect from someone with a strong science background. I felt like the intake form was very detailed, very comprehensive. Like I just felt completely like, here's everything,
Mhm.
let's figure it out. You took all of my dietary concerns into account when you gave me my diet plan.
Mhm.
And you literally, like, I mean, other than you actually feeding me the food, you're like, okay, this is exactly what you have to do down to the gram. And now I'm actually weighing my food for the first time in my
Isn't that
life.
kind of cool?
I've tried. No, it's not. It's terrible. I hate it
Do you?
because because I recognize, like, I thought a handful of meat, like a thing of like a would fit in a deck of cards. That Weight
Right.
Watchers used to say like
Yeah.
a serving size was like a card. Well, apparently my cards were large print
You
or
were playing
something,
with the
because like
jumbo
I
cards.
was jumbo cards, yeah, and like
It's
things
eye-opening.
that I thought,
Yeah.
it is mind
Yeah.
blowing, not just eye opening. Like
Yeah.
so many myths have been shattered in a very short period of time. I feel the same way I felt when I learned that Santa wasn't real, because I was like, wow, like nothing I ever knew was right.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I shame on me for being this old and not knowing this already, but everybody should have a digital food scale.
Yeah.
If for
Yeah.
no other reason, just to learn what 100 grams of something actually is. Like, you gave me the recipe plan, and I could go on for days about this, but I measured out my first serving of chicken, and I immediately took what I normally eat, put it on the scale, and I was like, I must have this measurement wrong. I kept checking. I'm like, so I started cutting meat off. I'm like, okay, I'll get down to the right amount of grams. I finally got to the right amount of grams, and I was like, oh, I don't know about this. And then and I texted you after the first day. I was like, there's too much food. I can't eat all this,
Right. I was gonna
because
say at the
even
same
though
time,
it
you're
wasn't,
like, yeah,
I know, like I can't do
I
it.
can't eat all
But
this food.
I don't know. It's just, all of this has been very like crazy, but you truly gave me every single thing I needed to start. The only thing I had to do was do it.
Right.
And workout number one, even though it was literally just like warm ups and light and totally not supposed to be like grueling, I tush so hard. I could barely move after day one, and I slept like a baby. And it was awesome. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of learning. I think for anybody who wants to start, the hardest part is starting, right?
Right. Right.
It's
Changing the
just,
momentum to a
I think the
different
hardest
direction.
part, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think actually the hardest part is realizing you're worth it. And when you start thinking
Mm-hmm.
about how much money we spend on supplements, on nutraceuticals, on gimmick fad
Mm-hmm.
plans and apps, and buying new clothes that are stretchier,
Right.
whatever. When you start thinking about how you waste money all the time,
Yeah.
how about you actually take some money and invest it properly in your own well-being? And
Mm-hmm.
that's where it was like, it was an easy decision for me at this point to say, okay, this is an investment in
Mm-hmm.
myself. And so I'm taking it super seriously. I find it really challenging, but at the same time, uh like I had my second workout today. It was so much better than the first one. I
Good.
definitely couldn't have talked to you after the first workout. And
And that was only 2 days ago.
even that was only 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And I was dying
The third
yesterday.
day.
Woke
Yeah.
up this morning, and I did it though. I did it, and
Good job.
wasn't happy because I don't like to exercise. Unlike you, you like exercise.
Mm-hmm.
I never did.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, I did it,
Yeah.
and I was really proud of myself. And now it's only been 2 days, but I think even just working out twice, like I feel like so much stronger in
Yes.
2 days
Yes.
with using my little 2 pound dumbbells. Like, yo, whoa, I'm
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
But you
Yes.
know what? You got to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
And I think just starting makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
It makes total sense. It makes total sense. And that's, I think, feeling that it's a pep in your step is what you're describing. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that is,
Mm-hmm.
I can just see it in you, even though we haven't seen, like, I feel the energy
You
coming
know me
from
though.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just feel the energy coming from you. And I love that. And so, yeah. So this is Wednesday. You did your first workout Monday. So we say 2 days. It's your third day on the program, but your second workout.
Right.
And yesterday you did some other
Right.
self-care, and you kind of hopefully soaked in the
It did.
pool a little bit, and maybe did some walking and
Swam, walked.
right,
Yep, swam and
moving.
walked. I'm truly following the diet to the gram,
Good
and
job.
I'm doing everything you're telling me to do. I will say the food, even though it's weird to have to weigh all your food, it actually by the end of the night you're like, I don't even know if I can eat this. This is just too much food. Like,
Mhm.
honestly,
Right.
even
Yeah.
though had the sticker shock of like, wait, that's what a serving size of chicken is.
Yeah.
It's just that there's so much protein packed into this
Mhm.
that one thing you learn quickly is that the more, and I mean, I'm telling you, like, you don't already know this,
And you're
but
telling
this is something
everybody
I learned, and
listening. Yeah.
I'm telling the whole world,
Yes.
the more protein you eat and the fewer like cookies you eat, it has this weird effect on your appetite. Like, I don't, maybe I lost the joy of eating because I'm not eating the cookies all the time and no more boba and
But you know,
all my
sugar's
yummy
addictive.
tea from the tea.
Sugar is
But
addictive.
it it is from the devil. That
Right.
is from the devil.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, sugar is totally addictive,
Yeah.
and I get it. But now I started on Noom like a few weeks ago, so I'd
Mhm.
already started working on
Mhm.
removing some of that from
Tiptoeing
my
in. Yeah.
diet, and
Mhm.
I exactly, and a lot of the food cravings had already started going away. But for now, for starting this week on Monday, I found that the lemon water too,
Mhm.
that had like a suppressing effect on my appetite. Maybe it was
Mhm.
just the lemon, the
Mhm. It's
sour taste,
soothing.
like took away
Mhm.
some of that. Yes, helped my
Mhm.
gut for sure.
Yeah.
Which is super important for women. Everybody should be drinking lemon water. And but there was a lot of food, a ton more protein than I've ever been used to. It will affect your body because your stomach has to adjust to that.
Mhm.
But yesterday, I followed the diet again to the letter. Now, the first day I did my exercises. So I got that post meal workout meal, or
Yes.
what's it called? The post workout meal.
Mhm.
I had some watermelon. I can honestly tell you, in 51 years of living, watermelon never tasted so good as after my workout. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I think it was on one of your podcasts that I was listening to that talked about the treat, like you get like a treat
Yeah.
after your
Mhm.
workout, and like how if you want to even have some jelly beans, like
Mhm.
your list of options for
They're
after
fun,
working out.
right?
I was like, this is awesome. And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe that's my motivator to work out because I can treat myself,
Yeah.
with something,
Legally, you can
that
legally treat yourself.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's not really, so it's like it's built into the plan, right?
Right. It's built
Well,
in. It's
because
literally
I
the
worked out
program.
exactly. And so since I worked out so early in the morning, watermelon was like the closest thing to me that was sweet and sounded fun.
Yeah.
And so I did that. And actually, the amount you get is more than I would have normally
Yeah, it's
eaten.
a lot.
So I was
Mhm.
loving it. And it was a lot. It was great. And I had some again this morning. And that was the reason I actually worked out, because I wanted that watermelon. I will say, though, in the beginning, it's a little hard to start. You still will get those cravings.
Mhm.
Like last night, I almost wrestled my son, who's home for the summer, almost wrestled him to the ground to take the ice cream out of his hands because I wanted some so badly.
Right.
But I went and cut up a cucumber instead.
Hey, it's so close.
And I
It's
tried to
so close.
pretend it was like, I know,
Right.
ice cream cucumber,
Okay.
but it wasn't close at all. So I
I've
didn't know what to
heard
do. I almost texted you.
I've never tried it. So if you try it, you'll have to let me know. I've thought about trying it, but I've heard people put a little stevia on a cucumber.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
I
I can't
do.
imagine a sweet cucumber, but
No, it's
apparently that
great. It's
helps. Is
great.
it? You've done it?
My
Okay.
the cucumber salad I normally make is just some white vinegar, a little stevia, and then some salt and pepper, and
Yeah.
it's like sweet and sour,
Yeah.
and
Interesting.
it's like tastes like a pickle, like a sweet pickle. That's what it tastes like, but
Right.
it's a cucumber,
Yeah.
and so you don't have as much salt. So
Now, and
yeah,
but
I do that all
what
the
you
time.
do is remind yourself too, okay, tomorrow after I work out, if I still want some ice cream, I can get some like low fat yogurt or
It's not
frozen
the
yogurt.
same
Sorry, no, no, no,
thing.
no, frozen yogurt. Frozen.
It's not the same
Okay, I'm
thing.
just trying to help you out. But so we'll talk
No,
about
but
it.
it's an
For
adjustment.
for your first 2 weeks, I do ask you to be 100%, right? But and that's so I
Exactly.
can judge when it's time to do your check-in.
Hmm.
We can see how the program as written works for you and what needs
Yeah.
tweaked. And 2 weeks can
Yeah.
feel like a long time when it's a daily making the right decision and following the plan. But in the grand scheme of life, it's just a 2 week increment of time. It lets me look at the data, look at your weight, look at how you're feeling, look at your energy levels. Look, are you starving?
Hmm.
Are you not starving? And then that's how we will adjust moving forward. So the 2 weeks is really important. But then after that, you'll get to start subbing in some food and looking at the macros for yourself and be like, okay, well, I really want this
Yep.
tortilla instead of this quinoa or
Right.
whatever. And that'll
Right.
be fine. And then also you will have built into your program a free meal every week where you eat the appetizer, you eat the entree you want, you eat a dessert afterwards. And it's literally like programmed in. Like, I expect that you have this free meal, and we don't call them cheat meals like we talked about. We're not cheating on anything.
Right.
The free meal to let our brain rest, relax, and enjoy
Yes.
whatever we want. And so you'll get there and you'll enjoy it. And that's how we build in moderation into the lifestyle. And some
I love
people,
it.
like if you have a smaller free meal, you can even have a couple of small free meals as opposed to one huge, really like
Yeah.
all the things free meal. And so I think that it helps keep the sanity. It gives you something to look forward to. But in the
It
end, we
does.
always just have to make that decision. What's more important to us? The ice cream right now,
Exactly.
and then being mad at myself for
Yeah.
how long because I ate it, feeling disappointed in myself, because it's always not just being mad. We're disappointed, we're frustrated, we're all
It's
the
it.
things.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, no,
No,
good job.
it's been really interesting though, because I have tried so many other programs in the past. This is, and like I said, this is the first time I've invested in actually some physical person helping me,
Right.
like one-on-one. And I do feel like it's like truly one-on-one. Everything is customized for me,
Mhm.
for my specific, physical limitations, for my
Mhm.
specific dietary limitations. I don't feel like I'm a byproduct of some AI generated workout plan that
Right.
anybody could get, or
Mhm.
a lot of these apps and large, big services provide. You get just a generic
Right.
approach that works for most. This is so tailored to me that it's awesome. And I know that if I have to reach you, like, hey, I'm struggling with this or I'm having a problem over here, I can send you a message.
Right.
And the fitness tracker, the app that's
You like the
used for
app?
the workouts I actually love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. And it syncs up with my Apple Watch and it does everything you need. And it has wonderful instructions on there. It makes me feel more competent in doing everything. So I definitely feel like, it's a mindset shift.
Mhm.
There's a lot of learning up front, but you have done a great job because you're very thorough at setting us up for success. I don't feel like I'm by myself. I feel like you're there helping me.
Right.
And at this point in my life, I needed that. And
Mhm.
and so I'm super, super grateful that I'm doing this. Like, this was the best investment I've made in myself in decades. So
Mhm.
I
I'm
I'm
so
I'm
glad.
very, very happy. I just wish there was a way to communicate this to more people so that we
Right.
could just get the word out and say, hey, if you are anything like me, you need to do this because you won't regret it. You really won't regret it. So
Right.
anyway, so yeah, I'm so excited.
I'm
Although I'm extremely sore and sitting here talking to you, I can already feel my muscles getting
I was
crampy
gonna
from
say you'll
from
actually be
working
more
out.
sore again after sitting still for a
Yeah,
little while since you've already done
yeah,
your workout
I'm
this
feeling
morning.
it. Yeah.
It's a great, I mean, it does get to the point so we'll say first off, my goal is never to make people sore, right? Like that's why you are in warm up week. It is mostly body weight
Right.
exercises, and
Yeah,
like
this
you
is just warm up.
right, and like you said, I do like if anyone has injuries, I definitely
Mhm,
we tweak to that. It's completely
mhm,
customized, and sometimes warm up week can last 2 weeks. Warm up week could last a month if necessary, because it is custom to everyone, and because anyone can run you through a hard workout to where you feel like you worked out really hard, but you can't move for 6 days. Like you
mhm.
literally you can't sit on the toilet, right? Like anyone can do that, but that's
Yes.
not my goal. My goal is to and after your first workout, it was pretty hard. It was the first time you had really used resistance in a long time. And
Uh-huh.
so, but today it was so much easier already just on the second
Tons
workout.
easier.
So,
That's
yeah.
right. So one thing, so okay, right now you're doing your podcast, you've got your
Mhm,
YouTube channel,
mhm,
you're posting things on Facebook.
mhm,
So I'm trying to keep up with, like, okay, what's the newest podcast release? Should I go on YouTube? What do you think is the best way to,
mhm.
like, find your content or stay up to date, because you post some funny videos, like good videos of different things that you're doing, and it shows that you're in it too.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I think that is really cool to see that you're not just like helping, but you're
Right,
doing it yourself. So like,
right.
what do you recommend, like, just to stay on top of things if you're
Yeah.
posting new stuff?
No, that's a good question. Thank you for saying that too. I will say, like that's a big thing for me, right? I am so real, like super
Mm-hmm.
real. I'm not sitting here with a six pack. I don't even want to pretend like I have. There's a six pack somewhere under here because I mean I
It's
work
probably
my
in the
abs.
refrigerator.
Yeah,
The only six pack at my
and a
house is in
six
the
pack of
refrigerator.
Zevia. Okay, that's my
There
drink
you
of
go.
choice. But so yeah, you can follow along like my struggles too, and me with in the gym sweaty. If
Mhm.
YouTube, I think is probably the easiest place to see my podcast because
Mhm.
I upload it every day, every business day, and it's also on Spotify. Some people prefer Spotify.
Yeah.
It is audio only, easy when you're on the
Mhm.
road or maybe like
Yep.
listening to it while you're doing some walking for the morning because even
Mhm.
though we focus on lifting weights, we still want to keep our heart health up, get some walking in. And walking is good. I don't want to say good enough because that makes it sound like it's lesser than, but walking is great. Like
Mhm.
we've been walking since we were a year old and we should be walking until the day we're no longer on the earth, in my opinion. But so YouTube, Spotify for the podcast specifically.
Mhm.
On YouTube, I add some shorts, some fun videos on the Age Interrupted YouTube channel. And so then on Facebook, I add more. Instagram, I add more. Facebook, I am Age Interrupted also. So YouTube
Okay.
and Facebook at Age Interrupted. And then on Instagram, it's Age underscore interrupted. And
Oh.
so I try
Hmm.
to make my content a little different in Facebook and Instagram. They're sometimes the same, but you have different audiences and different people watching. And so, and I want to encourage people to follow me on both. Like it will give you
Yes.
different things on Facebook and on
Okay.
Instagram. But I
Okay.
would say Facebook is like the home base.
Okay.
And I
Face.
would love if
Okay.
people would, because like you said earlier, like we want to get this message out. Like you can feel good. And it honestly, it's not that hard. Am I
Mhm.
right? Like you're weighing things now, but I
It's
want to
not.
reiterate, you won't be weighing things for the rest of your life on a scale. Like it will
Nope.
take a little time. You'll figure out, oh, this is the new normal of size of chicken I'm supposed to eat, and you won't have to weigh.
Exactly.
And so, and at some point when, especially when we get into maintenance, like it, 5, 10 grams here and there, it doesn't matter. It's fine. Your body is going to be a metabolism running
Okay.
machine and will run through whatever you give it to an extent. And so it is not hard. Like we can take care of ourselves. Right now,
Okay.
you're doing 3 workouts a week, like less than 3 hours
Yeah.
a week. Like, and then
Right.
your
Right.
your actual just your activity, you're walking on occasion, you're just taking care of yourself, walking,
Yes.
swimming, etc. And then
Right.
instead of choosing bad food, you choose healthful,
Yeah.
life promoting foods. Like
Yeah.
that's it. It's not that hard, but we've
Yeah.
got to get this word out. We have to help women because we're taking,
We
like you
do.
said, we're taking care of now our parents still. And let's not kid ourselves, 23-year-old children
Oh,
still need us. Am I right?
yeah.
Like we were actually talking. Your daughter still is there because like not in the home, but she's still around
Right.
because she still
Oh,
needs
yeah.
y'all's help
You never
too.
get rid of them. You
No,
never
no.
get rid of them. No, no,
Exactly.
never. So,
And so,
yeah.
yeah,
And that's okay. You're right, though.
oh, of course, like we don't want to get rid of them, right? Our
Heck
parents,
no.
like,
No, they're the
yeah, but
joy of our. But then I started thinking, well, shoot, we'll be grandparents someday, and I want to be
that's
able to lift
true.
my grandchildren. I
Yes.
want to be able to play with
Get on
them. I
the
want to be the
floor and get
fun
back up
grandma.
off the floor. The
Exactly. My
little
daughter
things in
reminds
life.
me, exactly. My daughter reminds me of that all the time. She reminds me of things like, hey, mom, I want you to look good when I get married. I want, because those pictures last forever. And I'm like, oh, God, no
Yeah.
pressure.
Right,
And
right,
then,
right.
I'm like, well, first you need to be engaged. Let's not rush the wedding.
Right.
And then it's like, I want you to be that fun grandma who's playing ball in the backyard with my kids. And I'm like, ball? Like,
I don't even play ball
huh,
with
I
you.
haven't
Yeah.
done that. Right. I'm like, okay. But it's like, I guess she know that I wouldn't do it for myself, but
Mm.
I would do it for her. And
Mm.
so if she told me, like,
Right.
if you don't think you're worth doing it for yourself just because you want to feel better, then do it because it will help me. And she knew that would be a trigger for me because she should have been a psych major.
She's
I'm telling
good.
you, she's
Yeah.
like Jedi mind tricking me there.
Right.
But yeah, no, she was spot on. And so yeah, but even though this is day 3, yeah, the diet thing already today was easier because I I I don't know, like I think it's just you create new habit, right? It takes us 21 days, they say, to
Yeah.
like create a new habit. So I think in 3 weeks we should check back in and see how things
Yeah.
are. But look at me trying to put myself
No.
on one of
Well,
your
we're definitely
podcasts
going
in
to
the
check back
future.
in because
But
I still want to cover other things. I want to talk about challenges and things next time too, and how
oh,
we're going to
hang on,
address those.
I can share one challenge.
Okay.
I want to share something. So it's
Okay.
just the challenge is the biggest challenge is mental, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
deciding it's time. There's never a good day. There's never the perfect time. Your life will never be calm to where it's like, now's the time for me. No,
No,
that's not how
right.
our life works, right? So the hardest part is mental to say, I know there's a lot going on. Like I started a new job a week ago, right?
Right. Most
Now
people
is
wouldn't
not the
think that's a
time to
great
start a new
time.
diet.
Right, right.
No, not a good time to say I'm going to focus on me. No, that's no. I should have been doing that like 3 months ago when I was unemployed. But
Right.
but no, but no. The point here is there's never a perfect time. It's like having kids. No perfect time for that either. But you do it, and you have to decide you are worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't take care of ourselves, nobody else will. So we as women need to be strong. We're very strong.
We're
We
very
all are
strong.
strong,
Yeah,
stronger
absolutely.
than any of us believe, right?
Yeah.
And we need to like take all that strength and put it toward investing in ourselves and doing something different than we've done before. And that's the biggest challenge, is overcoming that mental block and saying, I'm going to do it. So the hardest thing I had to do was commit to you to say, all right, I'm going to try this, and after that, it's gotten easier.
Yeah.
And then the second biggest challenge was taking pictures.
Ah, right. Yeah, you are
I
not
don't
looking
want
forward to
I don't
that.
want somebody I don't want somebody to not do this for fear of that, of being
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Super hard. Like getting on one of these and knowing it's going to be out there in the universe, very hard.
Yeah.
But you know, you've been a model for vulnerability and strength. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I've learned so much. I've been so inspired from kind of watching your journey that I felt like it's okay.
Right.
It's okay to be vulnerable because
Mm-hmm.
being vulnerable is strong,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And
It
then,
takes so much strength to be vulnerable. It's like the hardest
oh,
thing there is.
amen. Amen
Yeah.
to that. And so I feel like if we get enough women all together, we
Mhm.
can create our own support network. We can all be strong. We can be truly the best version of ourselves. And we can take this new chapter of our lives that we're all going through, and we can interrupt it and say, you know what? I was on a course going one direction, but
Mhm.
I'm going to change that and I'm going to go in a different direction that I
Mhm.
prefer. And that's the way I look at this. And so I would say those were the biggest challenges so far. The physical stuff, you get over it.
Mhm.
The other stuff, you adjust. It's the mental that's always the hardest. And to quote Nike, just do it. So I would say just do it, and finally invest in yourself. And I love this so far. So I can't wait to see how it progresses.
Yeah, I know. They say be anxious
So
for
that's where I'm
nothing,
at.
but I'm excited for it too. So, yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
thankful for
Yeah,
you and
absolutely.
this was such a good talk.
Okay.
And I want to have you back on. I want to follow your progress and
Okay.
check back in going forward. But thank you so much, Cherin, for being here with me
Yeah.
today and opening up and being vulnerable. Because
Thank you.
I do know you, and I know that's hard for you.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? If you can do it, I can do it, right?
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And I just want to thank you all for listening and for joining us today. If you would like to learn more about working with me, just go to bit.ly/jillwhitecpt. I will put that in the description as well. Feel free to send me an email at jillwhitecoaching@gmail.com. If you would like to chat with me, whether you are a client or not, I would be happy to have you here on We Talk Wednesdays. So also send me an email for that. I will get back with you myself. I promise it's me reading and responding. As I mentioned earlier, you can find me on YouTube and on Facebook at Age Interrupted, and also on Instagram at age_interrupted. And I just want to remind everyone that to remember to enjoy the process because it is a lifelong journey. Thank you. See you next time.